And Adam Cratch, and we're going to be talking about our final project for 05839. For our final project, we looked at gaining insight through open source information. We were specifically interested in looking at how the price of assets, for example, an index fund such as the S&P 500, or an individual stock such as Tesla, or an asset not tied to the market such as the price of Bitcoin, how those assets are affected by events in the news, whether those events are over the course of months and years or over the course of minutes throughout the day. To present this information, we chose the narrative track, and we wanted to focus on scrolly telling, and this is what our Streamlit website looks like.
So in the course of making this project, we focus on collecting data in two different methods. As Bryce mentioned, one was the long term, and for that we primarily use the Yahoo Finance API to get the closing data for stocks on any given day. And then the other one was the short term, where we use both Twitter data and a sentiment analyzer through natural language processing in order to correlate Twitter data with minute-to-minute changes in securities pricing. So one of the things that we wanted to prove that we all intuitively know is that the markets are inherently tied to major news stories. For example, the breakout of COVID-19 obviously tanked the S&P 500, as you can see happened in March. But also, day-to-day changes that are large percentages are often tied to the news. So one of the things we did was we created interactive plots that allow you to click through on particularly important days in terms of percent change and then automatically query the major news of the day to find out why that major market turn happened. Applying the same concept from the large scale to the short scale, we wanted to research how short-term things like tweets by important people or just tweets in general and the sentiment of them about a specific keyword could influence share prices in the short term. So for example, one of the things that is kind of famous was that May 1st, 2020, Elon Musk tweeted, "Tesla stock price is too high, IMO." That immediately sent the company into a negative 10% nosedive. However, the company shortly recovered within a few days to a week. So somebody who was able to get that information quickly would be able to leverage it and then use it to their advantage in the short term, whereas it wouldn't make a huge impact in the long term. And one of the key features of our website is that you are able to interact with our classifier by entering in your own phrase. So, for example, if I enter in this phrase, it classifies it as positive, but if I change it to bad, it classifies as negative. So we really wanted to make a scrolly telling story that allows you to interact with various aspects of our machine learning problem that we chose. So that goes as far as being able to do queries of Twitter as well. So if I want to type in a query here, I can pull the most recent tweets about that as well. So kind of just a cool way to be able to interact with the website.
Okay, so we looked at a number of examples of visualizing asset data over the course of a day. So here we have the sentiment and correlation of Bitcoin. We also have an example of the sentiment correlation of Tesla, and we're actually going to look at a specific example here. So if you look at, zoom into at 12:05, we're particularly interested in this these 5 minutes right here. So what we have at the beginning is the correlation between the tweet sentiment and the asset price is negative 40%, with the sentiment being at 25. But importantly, if you look at what the circles mean that there's agreement in the derivative of the stock price and also the derivative of the tweet sentiment. And so these derivatives aligning lead to a reversal. It was previously going down. The reversal begins right here. And it goes all the way up to, we increase the correlation. It was previously negative 40, but it goes up to 86%. And the net sentiment begins at 25 at the bottom here, but goes up to 33 here. The key is that when it begins to go down, the indicator isn't either the correlation or the sentiment, because it stays roughly within 1 point in both correlation and sentiment. But the key is that the derivatives diverge, and that's what you see right here at this square. And that's just one example of how you can use the minute-by-minute tweet data to look at and analyze the change of stock prices.
So one of the things that we're most proud of from our website that we built is the fact that it allows the user to kind of investigate these visualizations and draw their own conclusions about how they would approach the problem of incorporating this information on the quick time scale. So although the scope of the project didn't allow us to necessarily like write an algorithm that would exploit arbitrage in the stock market, the idea is that a user could use these type of visualizations to understand certain patterns in the market, in terms of the agreement between the sentiment on Twitter and the stock price, et cetera, and then go ahead and write code from there. So we've kind of created a springboard platform to continue working on going forward.